Hi everyone, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Textte's another podcast. Today we are joined by a very special guest, Kiran Afzal, who is a senior private sector specialist with the World Bank Group. She is working on private sector development, including destination development and job creation in Pakistan. And today, during this podcast, we people are going to talk about the future of tourism in Pakistan, existing challenges travel and tourism industry have, and a little on World Bank's project for tourism industry. We are also going to know about her story, so we all can seek inspiration from that. How this all started, like how she joined the World Bank group, what happened, her education background, and a little on that. So before going for any question, I want to thank you, Kiran, for sparing out time from your busy schedule to do this podcast with us.
Yes, alaikum and good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Usama, for inviting me. I'm looking forward to the discussion and also hoping to learn from you in this process.
I think it's really great to have you. By the way, the first thing we want to know is that who is Kiran at its core? How you define yourself? How you describe yourself?
Okay, so I'm a development sector professional and I've been associated with this sector in Pakistan. It's been almost 18 years, and I, in addition to that, I'm an avid reader. I'm very passionate about the work that I'm doing, and I like sports, and I also like music. I'm a foodie, and basically, I come from Islamabad, so I'm an Islamabadiate by heart, and this is why I like the mountains and sometimes snacky food, and uh, not a big fan of late nights also. So probably that's the package to define me.
Wow. So by the way, we're also going to talk a little bit on these things down the line. You have years of experience when it comes to corporate sector. How this all started, how you joined World Bank Group. Can you please share your story for the audience?
Sure. So I have done double masters. First one was MBA with finance majors, and then I joined the SME bank, where I worked directly in their head offices. That was the time when the country had started focusing on the small and medium enterprise sector. So I was very fortunate. I got to understand and learn a lot about the sector, its global positioning, and what's happening in Pakistan on that. And then 1.5 year into the job, I got into the London School of Economics and did my MSc in Social Policy and Development from there. And when I came back, I wanted to continue in the development sector, and so I joined the European Union, worked about 2.5 years over there. Again, the work was related to SME development. Then I joined Australian aid in Islamabad, and while I was there, I applied for a position with the World Bank and got in. And I've been with the bank since year 2008. So
Wow.
that's my journey for you, and never looked back since.
Wow, that's great. So by the way, now let's come to the tourism thing. That when it comes to tourism, like we all right now, we all been through a crisis of historic proportion, and tourism is one of the most vulnerable sectors during this COVID crisis. As tourism restarted with SOPs even in Pakistan, but globally there was a discussion that sustainable tourism should be the new norm for travel and tourism. Why sustainable tourism is so important? Can you please tell this for the audience?
Okay, I think that's a good question. And when we use the term sustainable, sometimes we kind of check the box as far as the development sector practitioners are concerned, and we forget some elements that come with it. And sustainability in tourism means many different things. And I think a better narrative where we are trying to move the focus now is responsible tourism. That for a long time, as tourists, also we have been demanding a lot of things from the government: better facilities, better roads, better standards in the hotels, more hygiene. But the more I work in the sector, the more I realize that the narrative has to change. We have to start shifting the responsibility towards us, towards tourists who are traveling out in these destinations. We need to be responsible as well. And this is one pillar of sustainability. The other pillar is then the safety, and that has to do with the physical safety of the tourists when they are out on the road. And sometimes, they're out on the road in deserted areas, because a lot of the destinations are very well connected by the roads, but they are very far flung. And the other aspect which has become very important now is the safety against the pandemics, COVID-19, and God forbid if there are similar outbreaks in future, and safety against all kinds of viral or vector-borne diseases, which we are liable, which we can kind of contract if the hygiene conditions at destinations are not according to minimum required standards. So that is the other element of sustainability. And then I think the third element of sustainability has to do with preservation and conservation. We have to save our environments. We have to respect the ecosystem. We have to respect our heritage. We have to respect other faiths and their assets, which we are custodian of as Pakistanis. And we have to also save our wildlife, the aquaculture. We need to stop dumping into the rivers. We need to be more respectful towards our coastal strips in the country. And I think the other element, or the fourth element for me in terms of sustainability pillar, is longevity. We have to have a long-term view on tourism development. It was not developed in any of the advanced economies overnight. We need to be patient. We need to be okay with the fact that planning takes time. Execution can be quick, but we are not going to see a lot of development overnight, or in half a year, or sometimes in few cases even in year or 2 years. So we'll have to be patient, and we'll have to work together with our authorities and with our representatives. And by longevity, I also mean that we have to involve communities in those areas. We have to let them own these the process of developing tourism, protecting the cultural sites, and whatever assets are being created by the government for the tourists, like tourist facilities. These include washrooms, information centers, parking areas, national parks, all kinds of entertainment infrastructure. Their operations and maintenance is going to be very, very important, because we see a very good structure getting built, people start using it, and then in number of years, very few years, it starts deteriorating. It never looks the same couple of years down the line. So we have to have now a long-term view on tourism. So if you look at all of these things together, then you can define what a sustainable tourism is going to look like. And it's only going to be us working with our authorities when this sustainability will come to the sector. I'll stop there.
I think this is something, this is a really great message that we have to keep the patience. Like nothing is gonna happen overnight. And we all have to become a responsible travelers while traveling, and we need to respect nature, culture, wildlife, and the native people over there to call it a real sustainable tourism. So, by the way, when it comes to Pakistan, in 2019, travel and tourism's direct and indirect contribution to the GDP was 10.3% when it comes to global contribution. But when it comes to Pakistan, it was 2.8%. How you look at the future of tourism in Pakistan? What are your views on that?
Yes, so for now we are lagging in terms of realizing the potential of tourism for the country. Even when we compare our country to our South Asia neighbors, South Asian neighbors, because other countries in the region, Maldives and even Nepal, they are and Sri Lanka, they are doing much better. The whatever segments of tourists they have captured, they are quite advanced, and they are providing facilities to cater to those segments. I think future is very bright, and I think Pakistan, in terms of the in terms of catching up with the tourism markets, in already took a relatively late start. It's been coming to us as a potential sector since the year 2016, because I've been associated with that sector from the early days of development efforts. So I would think the timeline goes back to 2016. So, and there's a lot more that needs to happen, but I see a sense of organization happening already in the sector in terms of policies being reformed, coordination happening across the country because of the National Coordination Committee, which the Prime Minister himself has established. And also at provincial levels, there is a lot of efforts which are now being implemented by the respective departments, because tourism, as you know, is a devolved subject. So,
Yeah, it's a provincial subject.
correctly. So, and Pakistan now is a market of 50 million domestic tourists, and a lot of that, and then comes the affordability factor. A lot of us are not going to be able to travel as much as we used to, or as much as we'd like to, because of different travel and logistical obstacles, or affordability issues. So we have to market and develop our own destinations and make it an engine for creating jobs and providing and leaving tourism revenues with the communities. So this is a great opportunity for the country. I have no doubts about that.
Yeah, I think tourism has a great future in Pakistan because, as you just mentioned, that we are adding, moving forward when it comes to travel and development of travel and tourism industry. And as Pakistan, everyone knows that Pakistan was among top 10 travel destinations across the globe. It was a third travel destination when it comes to adventure tourism. So we have a great future ahead, and we all need to work together to make it to promote travel and tourism industry in Pakistan. So, by the way, when it comes to major challenges in travel and tourism industry, what are the major challenges according to you in this industry when it comes to Pakistan?
Okay, so I think number one is that we still need to plan, and we need to plan better, because a lot of tourism that has happened has kind of happened in a more random way than we would have liked it to develop, because people are still flocking to already established tourist destinations. So that is creating a problem of over tourism. And given the COVID situation, this will only aggravate the issue of pandemic, possibilities of spreading pandemics, leaving aside the burden that it already was having on the natural resources and the logistics which were available at these sites. So planning will help, number one, with regulating tourists, and number two, in terms of identifying and planning the new sites, which will give people alternates. So that is so lack or so I think previously planning, lack of planning was a challenge. A lot of that has been overcome. The governments are now planning destination management plans and feasibilities of zones. So there is emphasis of the government on developing these sites. So, and the other challenge which I see is also the um, workforce development, because a lot of the hospitality sector stakeholders, they do not find already trained or even semi-trained workers which can help them in different fields within hospitality, starting from housekeeping, cooking, and waitressing, and also even having basic language skills to be able to deal with international tourists. So that workforce development remains critical. The other area which is slightly
So
more
there is a,
technical
you
is
mean
the
there is a lot
development
of
of
training
um,
required.
uh, basically, yes, and we need artists, we need
Yeah.
architects which are specialized to work on archaeological sites, to work on faith-based tourism, tourist site assets like gurdwaras, and even mosques for their conservation. So that I see as a gap. And I think third challenge is also it's kind of linked to planning, but it's rather big, and that is the absence of waste management systems. So a lot of effort has been done by uh, the provincial authorities to collect and uh, and remove the waste from tourist destinations whenever they can, whenever the conditions permit. But proper treatment of the waste and recycling opportunities need to be tapped into, and that is not happening at a scale which will um, make us proud of the, let's say, hygiene conditions or cleanliness conditions at the sites. So these are two or three big challenges which I can spell out
Yeah,
for you.
there are a lot of challenges, and all of these challenges need to be solved so we can head towards a better tourism. But I think we have a great future ahead, and we are heading towards a better future in terms of people are at least talking about them, and there are a lot of practical steps are being taken towards to resolve these challenges. Like recently, KP government has given waste management equipment to Kalyat Development Authority and Kagan Development Authority. So I think there are few steps which are different development authorities are taking in terms of resolving these issues. By the way, as you just
Absolutely, I
mentioned, that you also mentioned one another issue that in peak tourist season, like in peak tourist days, all of these places like Nathya Gali, Naran, Gilgit, they all are full of travelers, and there is no space. So it's a need of an hour to develop new travel destinations like Kumrat. Like Kumrat is a new travel destination. Like we need to develop a lot of travel and tourism destinations. Right now, you also mentioned a heritage travel and religious travel a little on that. I came to know that the World Bank is working with the government of Punjab when it comes to developing these heritage sites, preserving these sites. By the way, can you please brief us a little on that? That what, when it comes to tourism development projects with the government of KP and Punjab, what are they and how they are going to benefit the travel and tourism industry?
sure. So we have an active portfolio of tourism projects both with the government of Punjab and government of KP, and we have been partnering with the government of KP for tourism development since year 2016, and in Punjab this partnership began in year 2017, and that was the time, as I mentioned earlier on, when this was just people were just beginning to get up and take notice of the potential that the country has, especially the international circles and your bloggers and vloggers. So the projects identified the demand of the sector based on both on-site and off-site activities. And what happened was that the elements that came together to shape up these projects, uh, they include both accessibility, infrastructure development, digital platforms, tourist facilities, and also now COVID-19 preventiveness, involvement of communities, and as you mentioned, conservation and protection of heritage sites. So together with both governments, we have nine or can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Oh, sorry about that. So there are about nine sites in
Hello. Hello, I think you have to unmute. Hi, hello.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I
Okay,
can hear you.
thanks. So yes, there are 9 sites in KP, including stupas, mosques, and museums, which the projects have already started to work on for their preservation. Then there are going to be around 10 sites in Punjab, including Lahore and Textile Museum, and 3 gurdwaras and 2 stupas,
Wow.
which the project is going to start working on for their conservation and for planning. What we are doing is we are preparing destination management and site management plans for these sites. So in KP, the actual on-site work has started, and in Punjab, we are moving towards rather quickly towards the implementation of plans for both Lahore Museum and Taxila Museum. And then we are working in South Punjab for site management plan of Kila Kona Kasim Bagh, which is also a big historical site in South. So, and in both projects, the infrastructure work also includes rehabilitation of connecting roads. So these are actually small roads, not more than 15 or 16 kilometers each. But the idea is that the travel becomes smoother and quicker for the
Wow, I
visitors.
think
So
these all of these projects are really great because when it comes to Pakistan, there is a huge scope of heritage tourism, cultural tourism, and religious tourism in Pakistan. So I think all of these projects are really going to contribute towards betterment of tourism in Pakistan. By the way, when
absolutely.
it comes to tourist destinations, yeah, when it comes to tourist destinations, it has become a common sight on roads that people toss the litter out of vehicles they're traveling in. Littering
Ji.
mindset is a huge challenge for clean and green Pakistan. How we can stop this bad habit and travel responsibly? What are your views on that?
So I
Hi.
think for that to happen, basically, there has to be a sorry. So for us to travel more responsibly, there has to be a shift in the whole mindset. I was speaking to the authorities in Galiat, and they were telling me that although waste bins have been installed at different locations, people still do not walk up to the bin to dump the bag of trash back into the bin. They just basically try to hurl it or just throw it on the road. So that is number one. And then you mentioned the waste management equipment. So actually, that was done in partnership with one of our projects with Galia Development Authority, with the Seal Management Authority in Kalam, and with Kawan Development Authority. So the equipment now they
Wow.
have excavators, and they have garbage compactors, they have recyclable sorting bins, and they have dumpers. But the tourists, we need to cooperate with them. That's number one. Number two is that medium to long term waste management requires planning of managing the solid waste, which includes development of landfill sites, which also includes plastics recycling option, and which includes using the recyclable material, plastics of certain grades, even into the construction of roads, or construction of other tourist uh, facilities like benches, waste bins, giveaways. So, so there are organizations which are working at pilot scale, but that needs to, we need to take it to scale. Without proper treatment, of planning of treatment and availability of treatment options, the pile is just going to go bigger, unfortunately. And one big thing which we can do is to minimize the use of packaging, plastics, and extra material at the very source. So people need to now stop depending on or start refusing use of heavy packaging in which they buy different items. And that's where the private sector like hotels and restaurants, and your FMCGs have a big role to play. The MNCs like beverage makers and those who are into packaging, they need to come up with more sort of viable solutions or biodegradable solutions.
I think yeah, you're 100% right that all the sectors need to contribute together if we're gonna stop this thing. By the way, when it comes to this, as you just mentioned that you were talking to the authorities and they told you that they have bins installed, there are bins installed, but no one is throwing trash in those bins. So what do you think? It's a habitual thing for us?
Yes, it is.
Like it's a
So
kind of habit, even we have the bin, we cannot take 5 steps towards that.
no, you don't have to go to the tourist sites to look at the waste dumps. You can just travel out in your own neighborhood in big cities and see the piles of trash, kind of strewn around the waste area, but not inside the main dumping area, or the bin which is provided. So that's happening a lot. So for that, you need awareness. You need to start educating people. It sounds very basic, but that has to be done. And some of the authorities
Yeah.
that I'm
By the way,
interacting
when
with,
it
they
comes
are
to
actually
awareness,
very fun.
there is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
So I'm
there
saying
is
a
one
lot
thing
of
when it comes to awareness. Maybe that awareness is gonna work for childrens who are in school, but when it comes to people who are in Generation Y or Generation X, I think penality is gonna be a better option, don't you think?
yeah.
Because it's
So
gonna stop them because they at
yeah,
least they were afraid of something.
exactly. And I was reading on BBC today, only today, that there's a national park in Thailand, and what it does is that if you leave trash behind and it's not properly disposed by you as a visitor, they actually package it and mail it back to you. And there's a note that comes back
Wow.
to say you left something behind. So you have to
Wow,
adopt the
this is
concept of
yeah, this is a great idea.
yeah.
Yeah, I think this is really a great idea. So, by the way, when it comes to COVID, uh, like we all were in quarantine, what was the positive and negative impact COVID had on your life? Can you please tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, so COVID, and the isolation kind of, like in case of many other people, it gave me an opportunity to be grateful about different blessings in life, starting with health, and starting with the fact that we there are probably not many of us in the country, but still, I think a considerable number has access to technology, which kept us going. And it also made me very grateful for the family bonds and the fact that, a lot of us, because of our family setups, we didn't have to be on our own to to go through this time. So these were the ups, and it kind of also helps you put a lot of things in perspective, that maybe you don't need so much to live a life. When the markets had closed down, you realize that you could do away with a lot of additionalities in life. And I think the cons were that social isolation also comes with a cost when you're not able to see your friends or your colleagues. So that takes a toll on one's, I think, status of optimism, and it also kind of adds to the stress. The other thing which happened to a lot of people who are working is that the lines between work and home have kind of blurred, um, because you don't know when the day starts or when you need to be back in your private space or in kitchen, for example. So that has diminished for a lot of us. So let's see how long we are in this situation or in the new normal.
Yeah, hopefully the things will be better soon. And I think everything, whenever there is a crisis, everything has some negative and positive impact. But above all, we have to stay optimistic and we need to spread positivity around whenever we are in any situation like this. By the way, what is your life advice for the listeners?
Never stop learning. No matter how much you achieve in life, no matter how much you get promoted in an organization, or no matter how much you transfer to others in terms of knowledge, one should never think that you know everything or you've learned enough, or you can't add more to what you know. There's always something new to learn. So be always open to that. Learn from everybody that you interact with, and
I think
you
this
will
is really a
realize
great
that
message that, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and you'll realize that there is so much happening in the world, and with all the resources that we have because of technology, it's very important to keep on top of your game. So you'll have to continue learning. You can't stop that.
Yeah, I think life is a long lasting learning process. And if you are going to stop learning, like either you are going upwards in life or you are going to go downwards in life. Like there is nothing like stability. So if you are going to stop learning, you will be going down in life. So to keep going upwards, you have to keep on learning. So by the way, there is one last message from Texte. Say no to littering because amazing tourist destinations are being ruined by trash. It has also negative impact on environment, wildlife, aquatic life. And if we are just gonna travel responsibly and respect environment and try to protect it, this way we people are gonna protect it for generations to come. So, Kiran, thank you so much once again for sparing out time from your busy schedule to do this podcast. It was really nice talking to you and knowing about your story, your views on the travel and tourism industry of Pakistan. And for the audience, we will be back with another podcast soon. Thank you so much.
Most welcome. Thank you for the opportunity, Osama, and for your patience. Okay, bye.
It was very nice talking to you. Bye bye.